recall, I did a video a little while back. I will link that video right there in the card section. You can go watch that right now or after the video is done. So that video had to do with this guy, day one, messed up this shower that he was going to build. Anyway, there's another contractor in here currently doing some work, taking out the ceiling, actually raising the ceiling in the shower, which is a great idea because this is barely, I think probably not even 7 foot. It's probably 6 foot and some inches tall around here, which is original. They couldn't raise the whole thing because of this HVAC ductwork that's in the way. But the customer wanted the ceiling raised in the shower, which is a great idea because you see where the shower head is and where it would have been in relationship to the ceiling. And now it's a full 8 foot up. And the fan has been put in. So now there's a fan ducted out to the outside, which is wonderful, with a new switch. And the switch is switched over there for my purposes, because if you recall in that video, you can go watch that video, but this wall came all the way to there, and I'm going to take it out all the way up to where the old switch was, about 3 inches off of the wall here. And where that old switch was right there, so now it's reversed on the other side. In the meantime, I'm going to build that wall again, take out that scabbing that they put in, and build this wall out to that 3-inch mark right there, so that we have another full foot of room times 5 foot length. So that's an extra 5 square feet of shower room that she's going to get. And this is day one, so I have to get started. As you notice, all the backer board is down that was up here before. So I'm going to get started with my work as soon as this guy gets out of my way. But I like how he boxed that in. Very nice. So he's going to be doing some sheetrock work to have a ceiling up there so that I have a parameter to set my tile to. And I don't have tile thing going on for about another week because I have a lot of rectification of things. If you remember on that video, this toilet is off, and I'm going to open that up and try and see if I can move it back that 2 inches. I'm going to, I signed up for this too, but I'm going to move that line over there to where that finger is pointing. And there's some other stuff, other issues that you'll see on that video, where my drain line I thought was 1.5 inches, but it's not. It's clearly a 2-inch, well, you can't see it, but it's a 2-inch line, but it's still offset. So I'm going to pull this board up, because thankfully it was screwed in, so I'm going to take the screws out, pull this board up, and I'm going to move that line, that drain line as it were, over to center. And with any luck, over just a little bit, so my curb will eventually be here. And when that curb gets fashioned in, I'll know what my center mark is. So the new vanity are these two white vanities. I guess this is the front with the self-closing doors on them. And then in the center part, there's this little set of drawers. So it'll be vanity, set of drawers, vanity. And I have to dry fit all that stuff to make sure it all fits with coinciding with their current plumbing before that wall gets patched up and the sheetrock guy comes in here and does that. Then I'm going to be tiling the floor. I'm going to be building the shower from scratch, and I'm going to be tiling that. So it'll be interesting. Okay, the sheetrock guy has left, and he did a pretty awesome job. He boxed all this in. He put a fan in, which is a cool fan. I like it. You can barely hear when it's on. And made this little box in happen. So this ceiling is now larger than the surrounding ceiling, which is pretty cool. There's some things that I have to correct on my last video that I was mentioning earlier. Then I mentioned that there was a rocking thing going on this wall when it actually had wallboard. But as I put my, where's it at? As I put my level across the joining boards, I'm not having that problem. So I'm touching every single stud along there except the back one. That's where the problem is, and that's where that gap is that I was showing you on the other video. Even if I do it across here the other direction, I still am touching every single stud without a problem until I get to there, and that's where the gap is. So that's where the rocking was coming from. He should have, what he really should have done is taken this out and scabbed in a piece properly inside of here, but he didn't. And so then the next step would have been that you fur this out, or you wet shim it, or do something to get rid of that. Instead, what he did is he took his backer board and he just bent it across there. You can see where the screws are at still. Oh my goodness, so he had 3 layers of floor here because he's trying to do the buildup of all the different flooring that's below here. Now this is original, the 3/4, I'm not even going to call it ply, but you know, this 3/4 particle board type flooring. There's something below that, and I don't know what it is, and I'm not going to mess with it because this is all contiguous. It runs into the bathroom. But in order to build that up, he had 3 sheets. There is absolutely no reason why he should have set that drain so far off of, like, it. As I said, it was like a tub situation, but that's not 1.5 inches. You know, that's 2 inch right there. So even if he never even changed the dimension of the shower and went right here, he could have come on this side of the floor joist, and that would have been, again, that would have been center. This would have been off had we gone with the original plan over here. But because we're bumping it out, he definitely, there's enough room that he could have put a 90 on here instead of the P-trap, gone right up under this stud and ended up right here. And there it would be center for sure, from left to right. Whether it's going to be center going this way is kind of debatable, but these P-traps are adjustable right there before you glue them in. So it would be center here, and then you could cock it in this far into this next adjoining stud, and it's doable. Besides the fan, there's going to be a can light here and a can light there, a can light just behind where that bin is at, and then another can light over there. So that's that. And did all the prep on this shower, and I'm about ready to tile now. So there's a couple of things I just want to throw out there because I think they might be important for people to know. If there's tips and tricks that I can show along the way, then I will try and facilitate that as best I can. If you notice this bench, I always have an issue with floating benches because they're not big enough. Usually they're about 2/3 of this size, and there's no way you could ever sit on it. Inevitably it ends up collecting shampoo bottles and wash rags and, you know, whatever, or shaving legs, but it never gets used to actually sit on. So this is at Floor & Decor. I'm not getting paid by these people. It's a goop-proof shower seat. I think it ran, holy moly, I think I forgot. I think it's about 74, 75 bucks for this thing. It's completely, look at this. It's even got levels integrated into it. And I don't trust those levels. I honestly don't, because my level shows my pitch, my slight pitch, 1/4 per foot going that way, and then a slight pitch going that way. So regardless of what the bubbles tell me, I always put a secondary level on it. But it's cool that they do have levels in there. So this is a completely tileable bench. You would go ahead and set all of your tile, thin set and all that stuff into all these cavities, all these areas where the screws go. Ooh, look at that. I didn't even notice this. It's got a knockout. So if you wanted one of those smaller benches, it has a knockout right along here. And that's why you have these other recesses. Wow. I guess I should read directions. But anyway, the point being is that this is completely tileable once all this is filled in with your thin set. You can put the tile right on it. You can put the tile on the face. It even has a little lip on here to hold the tile up, which is really cool. I like that. Nothing's going to go on the bottom because the bottom never gets seen and it doesn't matter. So the way these go in are pretty easy. Prior to ever putting the wall board up, you have to put in some type of scabbing. I did 2x6 in this case between studs. So about here and here, where you can see the marks at, there is a 2x6 running straight across there, 2x6 running straight across there, and I know what my parameter is because I marked it on a wall. I went from the ceiling. Since my floor changed direction and the ceiling did not, I went from the ceiling down, put 76 down there, and then 82 would be my next mark. And so in between 76.5 and 82, is where my 2x6 is in the wall. So that mark never changes. Anyway, you have 2.5, I think they're 2.5 inch screws that go into your studs back there. And 2, 4, 6, so there's 6 of them that go all the way back there. And obviously these other little recesses, or if you want to take this out and make it a shorter bench. I'm ready to start tiling. So my ledger boards are up. My tile is a 12 by 24, so I usually go about 11 3/4, 11 1/2, and I put my ledger board up so that any cuts that I have are going to be at the bottom of the tile going all the way around. And especially with this river rock that I'm setting, I don't know exactly what the dimension is going to be, so just to be safe, I think we're at about 11 and maybe 3/8, could be 11 1/2 from where we're at now to the top of that board. So every tile at the bottom eventually will get shaved off from the bottom and fit perfectly in there. So another thing I want to mention with regard to your shower pan, especially when you're doing river rock, because it doesn't really lend itself to a lot of mess up. You want to make sure, and this is of course as you're doing your pan, so about equal distance across, and I'm on level on bubble, which means that yeah, I'm going to have basically the same cuts at the bottom all the way around, and that I have a nice little pitch going on. Same as the back. If I go center, then my bubble's right on. That's very important with river rock. Well, it's important with any tile for that matter, but river rock, in this case, you can see this has a bump out here, a small bump out, and then it has a recess. So if you notice, and all these manufacturers do things differently, but we got a bump out, and we have a bump out, and we have a recess, and we have a recess. So these literally fit together like a puzzle, and there's really kind of only one way it can go in. Anytime you do a floor tile mosaic or anything, you always want to dry fit, do a dry run on this stuff anyway, but this even more so, specifically because the biggest issue with river rock, or any rock tile for that matter, is making sure you hide your lines. That is probably the most difficult thing about setting this. And a couple of other things I'm going to talk about. Again, I can clearly see where the lines are at, even though I match these up like exactly, and I can see, not just because I know where they're at, because, you know, like I know, but still, I'm just saying there are definite lines there, and there's really not a way to get around that. You're just kind of stuck with what you have. I do number them. I'll get back in the bathroom in a minute. You can see 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those will go to my back, and how you number them doesn't really matter, but I make sure that how I set them is how I number them exactly how they get set. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 starts the next row, blah, 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 on and on. What else can this is a pizza pan. Why do you have a pizza pan in a shower? When you're doing river rock, especially with this type of backing, which is a really, really nasty mesh that I don't like. You know, the stiffer the mesh you have, the better it is. This one is not that, so again, you have to deal with what you have. It doesn't have to be a cookie sheet, pizza pan or whatever. Let's say that was set already. Then you can just come in here and slide that right in there onto your thin set. So that you're not, because you don't have 4 hands, so you can't hold 4 corners as you're setting the tile down. And it becomes very problematic. And you're going to have your thin set very, very thin. Because there's no reason to build it up. Otherwise, you're going to push down on these with a float, and you're going to end up with thin set coming through there and spending the next hour trying to clean out all your thin set. So use something flat like that, a tray or something like that. This is a conch shell, and that is going to be, and I cut it with a tile saw. So that's going to be integrated, I think, right in front of the bench. I'm going to take about 4 of these rocks out, and I'm going to set it right in there. I was able to rectify that. If you remember, a little finger that was pointing toward that, I rectified that, patched the sheetrock, tapered it off and all that stuff. Got the floor, squeaky floor taken care of. I got the drain flange correct on this toilet. Wasn't easy to do because, well, watch the video. There was a lot of stuff going on in the back here, and that's still not rectified. We have no ability to put in the P-trap because this guy absolutely had no clue on how to do plumbing. He never even measured the cabinets. And the vanities, guys, if you get a vanity, make sure that your plumber, your tile guy, whoever's gonna hook up your vanity, make sure that that person has done their proper measurement when they're gonna do the plumbing part. Because if they don't do the measurement, you end up in this little conundrum that we're in now. We're about 2 inches, see that 2 inches on the back? We're about 2 inches shy of this actually fitting where it's supposed to fit. And then that 2 inches will transfer into the downspout here. So, yeah, that's a problem. The only way to rectify that is, well, there's a couple of ways to rectify it. The least of which I like to do is cut out a circle or a square in here, and that will preclude the drawer from opening. And then you gotta cut out, yeah. That's not the easiest and the nicest way to go, especially with a brand new nice vanity. I never like cutting into them, but this guy should have known. He should have known. He should have taken out the vanity ahead of time before he ever did the double vanity plumbing. He should have done his measurements and made sure he was on point with his measurements, because he definitely wasn't. That's causing a problem now. So that has to be rectified. Other than that, I've already set up the sinks. They're not in there good yet. They're not anchored yet. Because we haven't done the floor, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. Same issue over here. This guy was just such a hack on his plumbing ability. I mean, you know, there's about 3 inches on that side, and that matters a lot. And he did the Y backwards. So coming from that direction into your sewage line, right? You don't want the Y in that direction. You want it the other way, so that, never mind. There's so much hack stuff going on that even putting the wallboard back in there and all that stuff doesn't matter now, because that plumbing has to be redone. I don't want to cut into that. So at some point she has to go find somebody to review the plumbing, and then, okay. So now that brings me back to the floor. She did not get enough tile for the floor. There's 2 boxes, sorry, 1 box, and we need 3. So again, a word of advice: if you're going to order your own tile, measure out. This is basically 6 times 6, so you need 36 square feet. But I would get 46 or 50, round out to the highest number. We put in new light. I put in new lighting up here. I don't know if she's going to still go with an overhead vanity light, but got new lighting up there. Got new lighting. Got a nice CFM fan up there, and so we got double lighting in the shower also. And this is a shower. This is the end result of that really horribly started to go bad. Yeah, it would have gone really, really bad. This was probably, by the time I did all the prep took the longest. Prep alone, to fix all those, rectify all those mistakes that were made, probably took me a good part of 5 to 6 days. And then 7, 8, and 9 were all the tiling part. So yeah, it's a nice rectified tile. I like dealing with rectified tile, because even though I use a leveling system on here, I can just get all my lines, all the tile, even though it's staggered in half, I can get them all flush. So yeah, then we got the bench, and the bench is really cool. It's one of those floating benches, so I had to get an extra large piece of, I think it was an 18 by 18 travertine, and then I just cut off a triangular part, put the bull nose, split the difference down the middle, and that turned out really well. Let me get back. So the niche she wanted elongated. We didn't want to cut through a middle stud, so we did an elongated niche. I made it about 24 inches, and then at some point I think she's going to put a piece of glass in there to separate them, or maybe down here and have your soap and sponge and all that stuff or whatever, and then your shampoo can go up top. And then I trimmed it out with the Schluter. So that turned out good. I have the contiguous curb top that I like, slope into the shower. And then this rock tile. So the rock tile, river rock as it were, some is shade and some isn't. This is the type that isn't. So when you put this in, regardless of how it looks and how it feels out of the package, it's not going to be that way in the end, because this is pretty thick tile. I'm not even going to call it tile, pretty thick rock. And when you're doing this and you know that you have to grout it. It took me, I think, an hour and a half, almost 2 hours to grout this, because you had to be really delicate, not digging too deep, but digging enough to where you can have the water flow down like a river, whatever. Then I got the square drain going on and a definitive slope from all of my rock going down into the drain, so there's no drain issues whatsoever. This is a conch shell that I slivered with my tile saw. I slivered into, I think, about a 1/4 inch thickness, and I've used probably 4 or 5 of those over the last 4 or 5 years. About, I guess, about 1 a year, but I've been carrying this one around now for about the last 3 years. Haven't been able to use it. It's been on my dashboard, and so because she likes the natural stone look, I said, how about the shell in there? So I integrated that. But yeah, oh, this shower fixture, I love this thing. I put these in, these inclusive ones where it's actually, you know, a shower head, but it also comes out as a wand. But this one's a little different. This one, look at those lines, look at that. I mean, I don't really get into fixtures, but look at that. That's like a car. That's just very, very sexy. I love it. So it comes off, pushes up, and it comes off, and it's got 4 different settings on there. And it's a very, very long wand type of thing. I mean, it literally goes back 5 feet without even stretching it, and then you can stretch it to some point. So it works in combination with the head or exclusive from the head. In other words, the wand will work all by itself with 4 different settings as well as inclusive with the head. So there's that too. Very nice. I like it a lot. This was quite the job, not because this was that difficult, but because so much time was done on prep, and there was a switch over here which is now on the opposite side. So yeah. Oh, also, somebody had mentioned on that original video about how I had put in the wrong stop, and because it was straight out, that I would eventually have a problem getting on in a escutcheon, which I don't like the escutcheon, I just call it escutcheon plate. No, it's not a problem at all. I was actually able to take this off. This is a live feed right here, but I was able to take this off, shut the water off, take that off, put the escutcheon on, and then retrofit one that points up for the toilet. So that's it. That's where we're at with this. It's done until about a week from now, where I have to come back and do the floor, plumbing the sinks, and set the toilet. Other than that, if there's anything that helped you on that, then great. Generally, I'm not showing the process, but you know, there are little hints along the way, like I mentioned with the rock and all that stuff, that you might extrapolate some information from. And I am out here on to the next job. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're gonna call me for advice, please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post videos. And thank you very much for your support.